Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's forum. Our topic for today is digital literacy skills are vital for building informed and responsible societies. As we live in a digital world where information spreads within seconds. However, the real question is, do we have the skills to handle this flood of information wisely? As for today, I am joined by my fellow panelists, EILEEN and LEOW. Together, we will unpack these issues, share our perspectives, and even debate on possible solutions. Now, let us begin with the basics. EILEEN, how would you define digital literacy?
Thank you, QISTINA. In my opinion, digital literacy goes far beyond knowing how to use a phone, a laptop, and social media apps. It is about being able to access, evaluate, and apply digital information in a meaningful and responsible way. For example, if you read an article online, digital literacy means you ask, who published this? Is this reliable? Does it show evidence? Without this skill, we risk believing in misinformation. Think about the COVID-19 pandemic. People were forwarding miracle cures on WhatsApp without checking. Some even harmed themselves by trying these unproven remedies. That is why I strongly believe digital literacy is not just a personal skill, but a survival skill in today's world.
That's definitely a powerful point, EILEEN. Thank you. Well, now, LEOW, do you share the same view as EILEEN, or do you have any other expanded definitions?
Well, I definitely stand with EILEEN's point, but I would like to expand it into two directions. First and foremost, digital literacy is not just about protecting ourselves from misinformation, but it's also about participating in society responsibly. We all produce content online, such as videos, memes, blog posts, or even a simple Facebook comment. A digital literate person thinks before hitting the post button. Secondly, digital literacy involves creativity and productivity. It's about using technology to solve problems, create projects, and expressing ourselves. For example, students who use Canva to design an awareness poster about recycling is applying digital literacy in a creative way. So all in all, I'll say digital literacy is defensive and proactive at the same time. It protects us from harm while enabling us to contribute positively.
Wow, that's definitely an insightful perspective. Thank you, LEOW. Now, I would like to also add my own perspective as well. As for me, digital literacy is a kind of modern-day compass. It is as if we are surrounded by a jungle of information. Some are true, some are false, and some are harmful. Without digital literacy, we are like travelers that got lost in that jungle. But with digital literacy, we can definitely navigate through it wisely, make informed decisions, and even guide others. So, we can already see that digital literacy has many dimensions such as protection, participation, creativity, and decision making. Now, let us move to the next segment, which is why it is vital for building informed societies. Now, let's begin with EILEEN again. Well, EILEEN, why do you think digital literacy is so important for creating informed society?
That's an excellent question, QISTINA. An informed citizen is someone who bases their opinions and decisions on facts, not rumors. Digital literacy helps people filter out unreliable sources. For example, in Malaysia, we often see political news spreading rapidly during election season. If citizens cannot check the credibility of these messages, they may end up voting based on lies. That weakens democracy actually. Also, being informed is not just about politics. It's about health, finance, and even everyday safety. If a scam message promises easy money, a digitally literate person will recognize the red flags. Without this skill, people lose money, trust, and confidence.
Wow, EILEEN, I agree with your points, and I would like to add on to your points. Like, sometimes people assume that young people are automatically digitally literal just because they grew up with technology. I strongly disagree with this assumption. Knowing how to scroll TikTok and upload Instagram stories doesn't mean you can tell which information is trustworthy. In fact, study shows that many teenagers are still vulnerable to online scams. This tells us that digital literacy must be taught. It's not something we are born with, and if we fail to teach it, we risk raising a society that is digitally skilled but not digitally wise. What do you think, QISTINA?
Well, Leo, that's a very interesting point. I definitely agree that digital literacy doesn't come naturally. I will even say that sometimes adults, not just teenagers, are struggle with it. For instance, many older people forward messages in family WhatsApp groups without even checking the contents. They don't realize that they are spreading misinformation. So, I would like to recommend that digital literacy be seen as a lifelong skill, not just something for students, but it is for both young and old people in order to stay informed.
I couldn't agree more. That's why I think schools, workplaces, and even communities should all play a role in teaching these skills.
Well, now let us all move to the segment 3, which is digital literacy and responsibility. Now let's explore the second part of our topic, responsibility. Leo, how do digital literacy skills make people more responsible online?
Well, that's a great question, QISTINA. In my opinion, responsibility online means being aware that our actions have consequences. A single rude comment, a misleading post, or even a leaked private photo can damage someone's life. Digital literacy teaches people to pause and think. Is this respectful? Is this safe? And most importantly, is it true? For example, cyberbullying cases are often caused by ignorance. Some students think making jokes online is harmless, but in reality, it can cause depression in victims. If they had digital literacy, they will understand the weight of their digital footprints. How about EILEEN? Do you agree with me?
I agree with you, Leo, but let me expand responsibility to another area, which is self-responsibility. Many people waste hours on their devices, ignoring studies, family, or even health. Digital literacy also means knowing how to manage screen time, use productivity tools, and protect our mental well-being. For example, I know friends who install apps that limit their time on social media use so they can focus on their exams. That's digital literacy in action. It's not about avoiding technology, but using it responsibly.
Wow, excellent points, EILEEN. I would also like to add that responsibility is also collective. Governments and tech companies should not just leave it all to individuals. For example, platforms should filter harmful contents, and governments should also provide social media regulations. At the same time, individuals should be empowered to report harmful content. So, responsibility is definitely a shared between individuals, families, institutions, and technology providers. Now, let us all move to the segment 4, which is the challenges and obstacles. As for now, we have seen the importance of digital literacy, but what are the main challenges that stand in the way? EILEEN, could you start off with the challenges and obstacles that you could find in this point?
Of course, QISTINA. I believe one of the biggest challenges is simply awareness. Many people don't even realize they are digitally literate. For instance, someone might think that forwarding a funny or shocking message on WhatsApp is completely harmless. But in reality, that single forward could mislead thousands of people if the content is fake or manipulated. We've seen this during elections or even during the COVID-19 pandemic, when misinformation spreads faster than the virus itself. The scary part is that people often trust messages that come from friends or family without verifying. This shows that the lack of critical thinking in digital spaces is a real problem. If society doesn't recognize that they are part of the problem, they will never see the need to improve.
Well, I think that's a valid observation, EILEEN. And I like to add on another angle, which is attitude. I think that attitude is also one of the main challenges. You see, even when resources are available, some people resist learning digital skills. For instance, some adults often say things like, "I'm too old for this," or "I'll just ask my children to do it." This creates a generation gap, where young people are fluent in technology, while other adults, like older adults, remain dependent. But I strongly believe that no one is too old to learn. In fact, I've seen real-life examples where senior citizens attend basic smartphone classes organized by community centers. Once they overcome their fear, they actually feel proud and empowered. The real obstacle is not age, but it's actually the mindset. If people remain resistant, they exclude themselves from opportunities, whether it's online banking, telehealth, or even a simple communication on platforms like Zoom or even Google Meet. How about you, QISTINA?
Well, both of you already raised a really strong points, and I would like to also bring in yet another challenge, which is information overload. We live in a world where information never stops. Think about it. We wake up, check our phones, and immediately we're hit with dozens of notifications, headlines, and messages. This constant stream of information can overwhelm anyone, even for the educated people. The danger here is that when people feel overwhelmed, they often just skim headlines, trust the first thing they see, or share without thinking. That's why digital literacy today must include strategies for filtering, organizing, and prioritizing information. For example, people should learn how to set limits. Maybe by subscribing only to a few credible news sources instead of following every sensational post on social media.
Another major challenge I see in the digital divide is the digital divide. In urban areas, students often enjoy high-speed internet, laptops, and even school programs that integrate technology. Meanwhile, in rural areas, children still struggle with poor internet access and even lack of devices. Imagine a Form 5 student preparing for SPM who has to walk to a hill just to get internet reception. How can they compete fairly with a city student who attends online tuition every evening? This inequality means that only certain groups will advance, while others are left behind. And when education and opportunities are unequal, society as a whole cannot progress in a balanced way. For me, bridging this digital divide must be a top priority if we want digital literacy to benefit everyone equally.
Well, if you guys don't mind, I would like to add on another challenge. Well, another challenge that I want to highlight about is trust. Many people, even younger generation, are unsure which online sources that we can trust. They might fall into echo chambers, only consuming information that matches their existing beliefs. This can make society more divided instead of united. So while teaching skills like clicking or typing is important, teaching judgment and openness is equally crucial. In short, the challenges is not only providing the tools, but also encouraging the right attitudes and building trust in credibility information.
Well, that's a very interesting perspective. And I would also like to add that algorithms complicate this problem. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, which are basically common among us, it definitely push content based on our preferences. While this feels convenient, it is also traps us in filter bubbles. We only see contents that reinforces our interests and biases while missing out on other perspectives. While without digital literacy, most people don't even realize that they are being influenced by these invisible systems. And finally, last but not least, let's not forget the economic challenge. Digital devices, fast Wi-Fi, and cybersecurity tools are expensive. As for the low-income families, the choice might be between buying groceries or paying for a stable internet. So while we talk about digital literacy as essential, we must also acknowledge that affordability is still a huge barrier. As for me, these challenges, which is among awareness, mindset, and information overload, and also affordability, are like walls blocking the road toward an informed society. If you don't address them, digital literacy will remain as an ideal and will never be a reality among us. Well, now the clock is ticking. Let us all explore on the segment 5, which is why digital literacy is so vital for society today in terms of suggestions and recommendations and also negotiations. Audience, as we live in an age where information flows constantly through our phones, laptops, and social media platforms, without digital literacy, individuals may struggle to tell apart reliable information from falsehoods. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, just like what EILEEN has mentioned before, there were countless rumors and misinformation spreading online, such as fake cures and conspiracy theories. People who lack digital literacy skills were more likely to believe and share these posts, which cause panic, confusions, and even dangerous consequences. This shows that digital literacy is not just about being able to use technology, it is about being able to think critically about what we see online. And when citizens can evaluate information properly, they become a better decision makers. When citizens can evaluate this information properly, they can become, as I said, a better decision makers. It is either in health, politics, or even education. In my opinion, if you want an informed and responsible society, we must also begin with equipping every individual with these skills. Now, What are your thoughts on this, EILEEN?
I strongly agree with you, QISTINA. To add on, I think digital literacy is not only important for handling misinformation, but also for participating fully in modern life. Nowadays, everything is connected to digital platforms, whether we want to apply for university, search for job opportunities, or even pay our bills. A society where people lack digital literacy will create a huge gap between those who can access these opportunities and those who cannot. For instance, students who are digitally literate can use online learning resources like ebooks, educational videos, or research databases to strengthen their knowledge, while those without such skills may fall behind. Similarly, in the workforce, employers are now expecting employees to be competent in using digital tools like spreadsheets, presentations, and even communication apps like Zoom, Skype, and Google Meet. This means digital literacy directly influences employability. Furthermore, I'd like to emphasize that digital literacy also teaches responsibility. When we post something online, it stays there permanently. So, if people are aware of the consequences, they would think carefully before sharing hateful comments, offensive jokes, or private information. In other words, digital literacy promotes respect, responsibility, and empathy in online spaces, which then contributes to building a more civilized society. What do you think, Leo?
Well, after hearing both of your amazing points, well, I think both of you raised excellent points too. And I'd like to expand further. From my perspective, digital literacy also plays a crucial and important role in this democracy and civic engagement. Well, today, many young people learn about social and political issues through social media. If they lack the ability to evaluate the credibility of sources, they may be easily manipulated by fake news, like what you guys mentioned before, and propaganda or biased reporting. This can lead to poor decision makers in our society, and especially during elections or even during public debates, which might cause a lot of conflict. For example, in some countries, false news articles shared online have influenced voting behaviors, causing chaos in democratic process. Therefore, digital literacy is essential to empower citizens to make informed choices. In addition, digital literacy promotes inclusivity. Many marginalized communities can use digital platforms to raise awareness of issues that may be ignored by mainstream media. However, this can only be effective if people know how to verify, analyze, and present information properly. So, for me, digital literacy is not just a personal skills, but a collective responsibility. When everyone is digitally literate, society becomes more resilient against manipulations, more respectful in communications, and more innovative in problem solving. Well, do you both agree with me, or do you actually disagree with me?
Well, that's a very excellent point, Leo. I also believe that digital literacy share a collective responsibility among societies. And personally, I will actually say that I personally agree with your main points, which is when you mentioned that inclusivity. Digital platforms give voices to those who might otherwise be silenced. For example, campaigns on climate change, human rights, and gender equality often start on social media and then they gain global presence because people are able to spread awareness all digitally. But like you say, this requires people to understand how to use this platform responsibly. However, if I may play the devil's advocate for a moment, I think one limitation we must consider is that not everyone has equal access to digital tools. People in rural areas or from low-income backgrounds may not have the same opportunities to develop digital literacy. So while digital literacy is essential, it might also deepen inequality if society does not ensure equal access to devices, internet, and training. In my opinion, the challenge is not only teaching digital literacy, but also bridging the digital divides. What's your view on that, EILEEN? Do you have any other perspective?
That's a very important observation, QISTINA. I agree that digital divide is a major issue. If we only focus on teaching digital literacy to those who already have internet access and good devices, we leave behind people who are most in need of those opportunities. For instance, during the pandemic, many rural students in Malaysia struggled to attend online classes in Google Meets because they didn't have stable internet connection. Even if they wanted to learn, they couldn't practice digital literacy properly. To solve this, I think governments and communities must invest in infrastructures, such as providing affordable internet, building computer labs in rural areas or schools, and conducting workshops for both young and elderly citizens. Only when access is guaranteed can digital literacy truly become a universal skill. Otherwise, society may become divided between the digitally literate and the digitally excluded, which would be very unfair. What do you think, Leo? Do you agree with this solution?
Well, I definitely stand on the same side with you, EILEEN. Access is the foundation of digital literacy. But beyond that, I will also suggest that we focus on lifelong learning. Digital technologies keep changing. What we learn today may be outdated in 5 years. For example, 10 years ago, not many people knew about artificial intelligence or data privacy issues. But now these are some of the most important topics. Therefore, building an informed and responsible society requires us to consistently update our digital literacy skills. I think schools, universities, and even workplaces should create programs that allow continuous digital education. While at the same time, parents should also play an essential role in teaching children how to navigate online platforms responsibly. By combining access, continuous learning, and family guidance, I think that society can be truly prepared for the digital future.
Wow, thank you so much, Leo. That's a very persuasive point, and I can see how digital literacy needs to be viewed as an ongoing process rather than a one-time lesson. I truly believe and truly accept the fact that Leo mentioned that digital literacy is a lifelong learning skill. And I also believe that this deeper discussion really highlights why digital literacy is so vital for society. Well, now guys, we already reached the end of our forum, which is the conclusion and closing segment. Now let me summarize our key points throughout all our forum for today. Well, basically, EILEEN has highlighted that digital literacy helps fight misinformation, builds information citizens, and also teach teach self-responsibility, isn't it?
Exactly, Christina.
Yeah. Okay, and also Leo, you mentioned that, and you also emphasize on creativity, content production, equal access, and last but not least, lifelong learning skill.
Yes, that is very crucial and important.
Yes. Now, based on my perspective throughout the forum, I stress that responsibility is a shared actions between individuals, communities, governments, and tech companies and or providers. So together, we all agree that digital literacy is not optional. It is essential for building informed, responsible, and also united societies from around the world. Thank you for our dear panelists for today. Thank you, EILEEN, and
Thank
thank
you.
you, Leo.
Thank you, Christina, also.
And thank you, everyone, for listening for our forum for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.